Welcome, Admirals, to Ray Rivers Gaming, and today I'm going to give you a review of this game, Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail. It's going to be blunt, and I'm not going to pull any punches. I've played the British campaign in its entirety, and so I think that gives me a little bit more perspective than a lot of other folks who have done reviews about the game, and maybe a little bit more credibility, if you will. Okay, it's one thing to play an early access game, play 4 or 5 battles, and then declare what you think about it. It's quite another to actually play the game in its entirety and then make remarks about how the game plays. Now, first of all, I'd like to say that I am a land battle guy. Okay, so I'm not a naval guy. Okay, I don't. I've played Ultimate General Civil War to death, over 2,700 hours. Okay, and there are other games from Games Labs I haven't played. I'm not into RPGs, so I'm not interested in their naval game, for example. Okay, which I believe is more of an RPG than a strategy game. I like strategy games. So when I first saw this game had come out, finally, on its final product, I watched a few videos of gameplay, and then I decided, hey, this looks interesting, so I thought I'd try it because I obviously liked Ultimate General Civil War a lot. Okay, it's a naval strategy game, and so you have to, when reviewing it, you have to review it from that point of view. Okay, it is not an RPG. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is, in the last year, I've been kind of out of things, a year and a half. Okay, I've been out of circulation, if you will, due to personal problems. My mother had cancer, and I was primary caregiver to her until her death. Okay, and then came this COVID thing, and I got double pneumonia and was in the hospital, almost died, and then took several months in recuperation. So a lot of the stuff that was going on in the early days of this game, I mean, I just was out of circulation, so I hadn't a clue what was going on. But I will say one thing about this game. Okay, it appears, if you look at Ultimate General Civil War, okay, you'll see that it also had an early access period where people could buy the game before it was fully released. Okay, but one of the things that you'll note if you start up if you own the game, Ultimate General Civil War, and go to the credits, you'll see that there's a list of at least a dozen beta testers. So they had people who were testing this game as they were making the game. Okay, so when it came out, in early access, although it wasn't complete, this was a tested game. All right. Now, when I look here on the credits, okay, let's go to the credits here. When I look at the credits of this game, okay, what we're seeing here, program, this, that, backers, okay, and there's a whole bunch of backers in here, okay, but there are no credits to testers. Okay, so what that tells me, okay, like I say, I could be very wrong about this, but and when I look back at some of the early access people who were doing videos and all that, what that tells me is that this game was kind of released on the, what can I say it, on the cheap, okay, and that they were using folks who were backers who bought the game early on to essentially be beta testers. And I think personally myself, I do not buy early access games because they are horrible, and the people who end up um, um, providing input many times have their own agendas, and that may be to help the game, that may be to hurt the game, that may be to monetize um, their gameplay. It's these are folks who have a totally different attitude toward the game, and that is why um, you have beta testers, because these people are folks who are dedicated to making a really good game. Okay, they have a great interest in doing that, and they are normally very straightforward, outspoken, give their opinions, talk about how the game is made. That is the job of a beta tester. Okay, a beta tester doesn't play the game and say, "Oh, I like it, I don't like it." No, they get down there and they say, "This isn't realistic, that isn't realistic. I like this, but we need to do this and that," and to help in making a polished game. Okay, they have a inherent interest in providing input that that will come out with a polished game. And in these credits, I don't see any beta testers. Okay, I don't see any beta testers. As a matter of fact, if you stoke up the Ultimate General Civil War, and you take a look at their critics and the guys who were their beta testers, I couldn't find a single one of them on this list. Okay, and that kind of that kind of makes me wonder about exactly what happened here in the development of this game. And I think because of the way they released this game, personally, I don't know, I really can't say, but I think that this was a very poor way of releasing this game. And right from the get-go, um, um, because it wasn't properly tested, I think you had a lot of negativity aimed at this game. So that's one of the first things I'd like to say right off the bat. I could be totally wrong about that, okay? And if I am, I apologize. But that's my impression. When I bought the game, it was like about a month or so ago when it finally reached Steam in a finished as a finished product. That's the way I buy games. I don't buy limited. I don't get into being a beta tester when there are people shouting and all this and forums and feedback and all this other kind of stuff, and things don't get done properly like they should in the making of a good game. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to get off my shoulders, because I found it a bit irritating that this happened to this game, because overall I find this game to be really a very good game, and I think it got a bad rep, and I have a feeling that the reason that happened was because of the early access was way too early, and they didn't have obviously dedicated, or they may have, but they surely don't show it in the credits. They didn't have dedicated beta testers who are making sure that the game functioned the way it should. All right. Now, I'm just going to load here my final game here. So again, when you go back and you look at you compare Ultimate General Civil War and Ultimate General Age of Sail, okay, and you go to the Game Labs forums, okay, what you find is that one of the beta testers, okay, this was Colonel Kelly, okay, after the game was released, this guy does a series of videos, very professional in its presentation, okay, with the Confederate campaign on Legendary, hard as it could be, and he does a series of videos, and that gets a lot of attention. Go to the Games Lab forum, hunt down that that thread, and you'll find that it has literally thousands and thousands of hits. Okay, people watching what was going on. That didn't appear when I look at the Games Labs forum. That didn't happen with this game. Nobody stepped up and did a campaign who was, as far as I can tell, who was really a part of the production of this game. Nobody stepped up to play the campaign and explain what the hell is going on. And that, I think, also hurt the game. And that is one of the reasons why I did this series of videos, was to help people, and why I did a bunch of tutorials was to help people in trying to understand how this game plays. All right? And again, I am not a sea person. I love the Age of Sail from a historical point of view, but I don't play these kinds of games. But I decided to jump in because it looked kind of interesting after it had been released. Okay, and I overwhelmingly liked the game. I think it's a great game. All right. Now, there are a couple things that I think that they could have done a lot better. And I wish I had had a chance to have input on how the game was made, because it's, in my opinion, they're pretty glaring problems. Okay, one of the problems is symbology. Okay, you've got symbols all over the place. Okay, for example, when you start the game, okay, you get ships, for example. You get a ship, for example. Okay, you add it to your fleet. Okay, and there's all these empty crew things here. Okay, and you look at it and you say, what the hell is that? Okay, that was my initial reaction, because I didn't understand what these symbols and all this stuff was here. Okay, I realized that I have to put a guy in there. Okay, and then as I got into playing the game, I realized that actually the UI was very good in that it told me who were the best guys, who is the best guy, the next best guy, and next best, just by going down there. And then immediately you see the yellow, and that wasn't, and it was very easy for me to figure that out. But I have a feeling that there are people who didn't never figure that out, and that's why I did a tutorial about that. Okay, if somebody had done an opening campaign for this game, they could have explained that kind of stuff, and you would have people who would have a much better understanding on how this game played. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Because of all these symbols, and there's a million symbols in these games, it seems, let me see. What should they have done? Well, right here in the tutorials, okay, you have a land battle tutorial, an amphibious ops tutorial, a naval land. You have these tutorials. Okay, they're good tutorials. They're good tutorials. They give you the basic information, but because there's so many symbols in this game, what they really needed was another thing right here that was symbology, and where you clicked on it and it took you to a page where it showed you a picture of the symbol, okay, and an explanation of exactly what that symbol meant. Okay, and you could have grouped it into different categories, such as officers. What do they mean? I mean, they're tooltips, and and all you have to do is tooltip over it. But there's a lot of times when there's stuff that's going on, like in the sea battles when you first start, and you're getting all these symbols flying around coming out of the ship. You have no idea what they mean. And I mean, you eventually, by playing the game, you figure out what these symbols are. And that shouldn't be that way. There should be a reference. When you're going to use that many symbols in a game, there should be a reference page where you can go to and say, what does that symbol mean? Okay. So I'm going to leave that and go back to my end campaign. So what I'm doing is I'm hitting first on some of the things that I really felt were not well done and which could have been done a lot better in the publication of this game and making it a much better game right from the get-go, and I think would have had a far more positive impact on how the game was received. And from what I can tell, okay, the game wasn't received very well. All right. And that's a shame because it's a good game. All right, here's another thing here. Just for me, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so all right, so end chapter. So here we go. Here's the end screen. This is the end screen I got. Okay, and it looks really nice. All right, but when I look at it, there's no tooltips here, and I'm going, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? I mean, does that mean that I had 13 first rates? Well, I didn't have 13 first rates. I'm not sure what this stuff means. The information that's presented, I mean, the only thing that I actually understood about all of this is player losses. I lost this many. Player enemy strength, they had that many, and I killed that many. That's the only thing I really understand about this screen. Okay? And when you look at Ultimate General Civil War and you play the campaign, and in the end, when you win the campaign, I mean, there is a very intricate and detailed end of campaign presentation, and that presentation goes from everything from how many of your soldiers died, how many of your soldiers were wounded, how many cavalrymen were killed, wounded, captured. I mean, it gives a very detailed description of how your campaign, what results you had with that campaign. And I think that's really missing here, and that really is a bummer for me, to be quite honest. I invested 200 hours, okay, 200 hours from start to finish in this game, only to look at an end screen which I haven't a clue what it means. All right, so the other thing that kind of bothers me a little bit. Okay, we're going to go to the naval battle tutorial. The other thing that bothers me a little bit is the pacing of the game. Okay, the pacing of the game, I mean, is really slow. All right, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's really slow. Okay, this guy's doing 8.4 knots. Okay, I mean, it's going to take me forever to fight this little battle if I do it in normal time. It's going to take me forever. All right? And yeah, that's why you have a 2-time screen. And if you watch my videos, you'll see that I played this whole damn game in 2 times. Why is that? Why is that? Okay, because the game pacing is, in my opinion, is way too slow. All right? For me, the basic game pacing should have been somewhere between one time and two times. Would have been a much more enjoyable experience. Okay, now here I'm at two times. Okay, and it's not difficult handling this game at two times. A lot of people say that this is a hard game. No, this isn't a hard game. On normal settings, this is not a hard game. Okay, the AI makes all kinds of mistakes in this game. If you can't capitalize on the AI, okay, then you know you're probably having a hard time with a lot of other games. All right, but this is not a hard game to play. I found it to be quite a fun game to play, but it's not a hard game. Okay, when I can handle a fleet in Trafalgar, okay, at two times the speed, and I'm not a naval gamer, well, what does that tell you about the pacing, in my opinion? It tells me that the pacing is way too slow. I think it's way too slow. All right, and I don't know. Maybe they felt that this was too difficult for people. Is this too difficult for people? I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't think so. So, I have a hard time with the pacing. Like I say, I wish it was more. The normal speed was um, about halfway between normal speed and two times speed. I think that would have been a much better pace for the game. Because if I mean, there's some of these battles, if you fight them at the normal default game speed, I mean, it'll take you hours to play these games. That's just my own personal preference. Okay, that's my personal preference. I think the pacing on this game was just way too slow. You know, maybe it's realistic, but we're playing a game here. Okay, this is not a sim. This is a strategy game, and it's just to me, I don't know. Whoever made some decisions here, I think, hurt the game. It's just way too slow for me. All right, back to my end screen here. So I think I have gone through a lot of the stuff that is negative, and far as I'm concerned, when I look at how just the game in general. Okay, it's the game in general. The other thing that I really that kind of bothered me a bit was the upgrade system. Okay, now you have this tech tree, and you learn, I guess, that if I want that in the end, then I need to get this first. A little by little, you learn how this all works out, and a lot of the stuff that I bought just to see how it happened. How what I get out of all of this. Okay, but in the end, what's going on here is that, okay, you're buying modules, you're buying upgrades for your ships, right? You're buying these upgrades for your ship, and of course, when you go to the Admiralty, you have a section here where you can drop the upgrade costs by 25%. Okay, okay. So anyway, but that is really not, when you start the campaign, that is really not a something high on your list to do, is to be decreasing upgrade costs. But I think that the upgrade system is actually very cool, and I like that. I really like the way that is, and it's very interactive too, which I don't know if people understand. But you can pick an upgrade, and let me see if I have a, okay. Let me see if I have a ship. You can see most of these ships are, I don't even have them up to up to their full capacity. All right. And I still won Trafalgar handily on normal. And people are saying this is a hard game. Isn't that a hard game? All right. I actually don't have a ship here. Let's see here. Let's take this. All right, let's take it. Okay, so let's say, so here's one of the things that I noted, that you only figure out once you've really gotten into the game, and now you're starting to have a lot more flexibility, kind of mid-game-ish, if you will. And I'm talking about upgrades here. Okay, and what you see here is that, okay, I say I want 962 crew for just because I want, okay? And then I go, okay, but I need to change these guns, and I want to have a I don't know, a hardened hull. Okay, and now you go overload. Okay, see this overload. All right, and what you don't see, which is not presented to you, is that everything on this screen is interactive. So the modules, the crews, and the guns, they're all interactive. So I can play around with all three of these things. Okay, so these guys, 12-pound Armstrongs. Well, you see, I'm overloaded. So maybe if I drop down the weight of that gun. Okay, so see, they're at 15 weight. Okay, maybe if I put these 24-pound carronades on them, let's put those on there. Let's see. Okay, and look at that. All of a sudden, it all fits. Okay, and then all I have to do is upgrade, and I've got the ship I want. Okay, so it's all interactive. The modules, the guns, the crew, it's all interactive. You can have them all going and changing this and that all at the same time. But if this information isn't presented to you, okay, then you have no idea that you can do that. But again, going back to the modules, I really like the module system. The problem with the module system is that it was way, in my opinion, way too expensive, especially the early modules. Now, when you start off in the game, okay, you've got sloops and you've got sixth rates and all kinds of stuff here. I mean, I remember my first, where is he? Whenever you sell a ship, basically they go into the Admiralty. Okay, where is this guy? The Galga. Okay, my first sixth rate sloop. Okay, and in the end, when I got him, okay, I put a hardened hull on him, but that's all I could put. And I also had because I wanted to maintain a certain weight in gunnery and a certain amount of crew, so I didn't have the room, if you will, to get what I wanted out of all that. Plus, the upgrades were so expensive, okay, that I'm saying to myself, why should I spend all this money on nice to have upgrades when in 4 turns I'm going to sell the ship? Why should I do that? Why should I waste my money there? Okay, so, and I think the reason in the end for that, this is the kind of the mindset that I got into, was that as I'm going through my campaign, I'm becoming increasingly aware that I'm going to be steadily increasing the quality of my fleet. So I'm getting better and better ships, and so it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to waste precious money on upgrades, which are very expensive, even with the minus 25% discount, knowing that I'm going to sell that ship. So I think that the upgrades should have been a little less costly to allow the folks to be able to use upgrades more in the whole campaign, not just the end. In the end, when you're getting first and second and third rates, okay, yeah, there you can put those things in there. Okay, but okay, look at that, look at that, look at that. That's what I did for Britannia. So I'm putting all kinds of upgrades in there. Why? But I know that this ship is going to be with me to the very end. So I have no problem spending my money there. That's just my own personal preference. Okay, I wish that the upgrades had been a bit cheaper. Of course, it also has to do with a lot has to do with personal preference for armament, for example, for how much money you're spending in your research. All right. For the quality of men you want. I mean, if you want 3-star units, I mean, you're going to pay to keep those guys at 3 stars. Okay, so it's all, it's like any strategy game. There's trade-offs you have to make. Okay, and I guess in the end, my trade-off was I didn't buy the upgrades because I realized I'm going to sell that ship, so why should I bother? It's like, yeah, I get back some money when I sell it, but it's only a portion. Okay, until I guess this point here, better prices and so forth, in which you see, for example, let's go to naval weapons, in which you see that basically the prices are the same. Okay, so what I buy for, I can sell it back at the same price, so I'm not losing money. But until you actually have that, till you actually have that thing maxed out, then every time you're selling a ship, you're not getting what you paid for it. So, okay, like I say, it's trade-off. So having gone through all of that stuff, which is fairly negative, I guess, I'd like to go through a lot of the stuff that I liked, and one of the things, and again, I'm a land player. Okay, I like land games. Okay, there's a reason I put 2,700 hours in Ultimate General Civil Wars, because I like land combat. Okay, but I found actually that when I started getting into the game and learning how to sail the ships and learning how to get from one place to another, when that became pretty much second nature, I mean, the battles all of a sudden became really fun. I had a really good time with it. Like I say, I enjoy the Age of Sail, but I've never played a strategy game of the Age of Sail, and I really enjoyed playing the sailing battles, the naval battles. And another thing that I really liked about the game was that it had a lot of different facets that kind of made that drew me in to my ships. So the fact that I could name the ship whatever I wanted, the fact that I could do different upgrades, change my armament, choose my officers, level of my men, and all this. I mean, it just, you slowly get dragged into this feeling that this fleet is mine, and that's what a really good strategy game does, is it pulls you in and makes you care about what's going on. And I was caring, and this game definitely made me care for what was going on. And I would have a battle, and I would see a little thing up at the top here, and it said one of your officers was wounded. And when I saw that, I went, oh man. And if you watch my videos, you'll see I comment on that, okay? Because I am invested in my fleet, okay? And that is a big big um, um, it's a big indication that the player is actually has been drawn into his forces that he has created, and has a real, you know, real interest in what happens to his fleet. So, and I think that this game does that really, really well. And if you like those kinds of games where you're going to get yourself really involved with with all the different facets of your forces because they're yours, okay, and because you made them what they are, but from the officers to the guns, to how your men are armed and all this. I mean, and what if you like to be drawn into those kinds of strategy games? Well, this has a lot to offer, okay, and I think it's really good. I really enjoyed that. I got sucked into this game. Towards the end, I was just wow, this I'm loving this. Um, One of the things that I failed to do um, in my video series, even though I made um, a couple of tutorials about it, was I failed to adequately manage my Marine Corps. All right, I did poorly with my Marine Corps, even though I'm playing sea battles at normal and I went with land battles at hard. All right, I didn't do well with the land battles and almost gave up on it. And in the end, it was my fault, okay? Because I didn't put the same kind of interest in my Marine Corps that I was putting in my ships, okay? It just didn't happen. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it just didn't happen. And I think there may be a couple reasons, okay? For example, um, when I go here to assign an officer, okay, the thing tells me who's the best guy to go in there. Okay, so I put him in there. All right, but when I go to my Marine Corps, okay, and I say, let's say that I've lost this officer, okay, it doesn't tell. I mean, I guess what I learned, okay, was that it actually was telling me the same thing, but I just didn't really know it. So what it's telling me is this guy is the next best officer from my reserve. I didn't realize that, okay, because I wasn't paying enough attention to it. I did towards the end, because then I started noticing I'm getting these recruit guys here that are really expensive, in gold and reputation, and I'm seeing, well, again, you can just click on it and you can see the difference that it made. Okay, and I'm going, oh wow, look at that, man. I mean, I was not paying attention to my officers. And because of that, the land play suffered. And once again, I think the reason that happened was because I hadn't, I was exploring this game, from basically a zero knowledge base. It would have been, I would have been, it would have been so much more easy for me to get into this if somebody had done a campaign, okay, where I could actually see what they were doing and they would explain to me why they were doing that. Right? It's just like at the very beginning, I had these merchant ships which could carry guns, and those merchant ships, okay, had 200 crew for optimum. Now, not only were those bad ships, they not only took up a huge amount of crew, which I paid for in my budget, but it also provided, although it provided me with 4 slots, on their ships, it meant that it meant that if I wanted to fill them out, the regiments or whatever you want to unit, the units were going to be very low. And it was only after, several probably 2/3 through the campaign when I finally figured out that I'm doing this wrong, man. Okay, I had the black pool, and I finally figured out that I could jerk these guys up to 320, because what was happening was, especially in the early game, was that I would have these land battles and I'd have whole units get wiped out. Okay, that's not much fun. That doesn't draw me into my Marine Corps when my Marine Corps is getting wiped out. But there was a reason that those guys were getting wiped out, and it was my fault. I'm putting poor leaders in them, and I I am not maximizing my Marine Corps. Finally, it dawns on me, and I get rid of the other two merchant ships that I had. That had, although they had 4 slots, had only 1,000 capacity, and now I'm down to 3 slots each. But with all of these slots, the infantry, I can take them up to 320, all 3 of them. Okay, I can take them all up to 320. Except, well, here's a well, that's all right. We can do this. This is a pretty, a pretty intensive thing here of how you assign guys. Okay. So anyway, here you go, and there you go, 320, and now all of a sudden, I have units of 320, and they're not brittle. You have a unit of 190 guys, which I was having at the very beginning. They get confronted by a battery of just 2 guns of 4-pounders. Okay, they take it in the face with canister, and those guys are toast. So I didn't put in enough time on the Marine Corps. I'm not sure why, but I think if somebody had actually gone through a campaign, explained how all that worked, what you're after, then it would have made the game a whole lot more fun, and I would have been a lot more invested in my Marine Corps, which I wasn't until about 2/3 of the way through the campaign. And then, but once I got invested, okay, then I started really liking believe it or not, I started liking the Marine Corps part as well, and I paid much more attention. I sold my merchant ships, got better merchant ships, got my guys up to max crews, max quantities, if you will. And then my battles, all of a sudden, now it wasn't kind of like trying to what do we call it, knock a mole, or moles were popping up and I'm trying to knock them over, and my troops end up spread all over the place, and they're very, they're getting shot at from the flanks and all. Now I've got enough men in each of my units that I can actually form a battle line, and I can actually use good land tactics to fight the battle and win the battle. All right, so that was a mistake on my part. In that campaign, and I think that it's worth noting that while a lot of people talk kind of poorly about the land battle side, it's because they didn't get invested in it, and I suffered the same kind of thing. Happened to me too. Okay, but now I understand how it all works. Now it's a totally different situation. So anyway, so there you go. That is my my impressions. Like I say, I really enjoyed this game. I don't think, I think it's easy to play, easy to learn. They could have done things that are like the thing for the symbols, which would have made it a lot more. it'd be a lot quicker for people to understand what the heck's going on. Um, but I think it's a very nicely polished game, and it's fun. I mean, it's really fun. So I can't. So the overall, after saying all this stuff, I said a lot of bad stuff, okay, about the game. All right. But I have to tell you that because I wasn't involved in the early stage, probably was to my benefit, because I didn't get all this negativity, and I didn't see all these things that weren't working or what have you, and that's one of the reasons, like I say, why I avoid early access games. Okay, I want a polished game, and I bought this game as the final product, and it is fun. It is fun, and it is worth the money. So my overall review of this game is that it is a fun game. That is what gaming is all about. Do you have fun, or do you not have fun? And I think that if you're on the edge of saying, well, should I buy it or should I not buy it? Avoid all the negativity, especially of the like a year ago, because there's a lot of it out there, and and um, um, and jump in, okay? Because this is a polished game. It's ready for prime time. It's fun, and you'll enjoy it. So thank you for listening to um, this video. I appreciate all the folks who have watched my videos, and hope they enjoyed the content. I am, like I say, I am not a professional YouTuber. I just play and record my stuff because it's like kind of like a hobby. I enjoy it. I have fun at doing it. If something positive comes out of it, whether that's a like or someone comments or whatever, I mean, that's a bonus. But it's not an end all, to be all. Okay, that is definitely not why I make these videos. Okay, I make these videos for people who share my interests and who want to have fun and enjoy watching other people having fun playing games. That's it. Till next time, maybe the American campaign. We'll see you all later.